Yeah, these are very special times. Many people are afraid because the liberal democracy, the liberal values that we thought that are so strong and that will always be with us, we see that they're weakening and might disappear altogether. Obviously, something failed in liberalism as we know it. It wanted to introduce equality, pluralism, freedom, but our societies are only deteriorating. Hatred is growing, and the liberals themselves, their masks are coming off, and we see that behind those masks, eventually, there's no real tolerance. There is no liberalism. Yeah, there's no real liberalism. And we'd like to talk about that fear and maybe understand why don't we know how to implement these values that we want so much. Now, what's interesting is that in this entire liberal reality, those that stand out the most are the Jews. They're always those that are most drawn to these values, feel that these are our values, the values of our people. Even though that in Israel we're very far from that, maybe we're a bit better than others in some respect, but we're not there yet. So we'd like to go to the source. It says that Judaism brought morals to the world, the social development that eventually all of these democratic values are based on. It all started from us, actually. And there's a vast foundation for social justice, equality, and different other values that we would really like in Judaism. And we'd like to understand how did it all begin, because we probably missed out on something on the way because we're not really implementing it. So what was it about the Jewish culture that started this change in the world, and what's the difference between then and now in order for us to better understand why aren't we correctly implementing it? Man is the cradle of civilization because his desire is the biggest, the egoistic desire, where the whole of creation is constantly thinking about how can it succeed in its existence, still vegetative, animate, and people, the speaking level, they're all concerned with themselves. How can they survive? And beyond surviving, succeed, even at the expense of others. And it's even better if it's at the expense of others. Because everything's measured not like it is with animals. I see in the movies that animals, they fulfill themselves with some kind of food and leave the dead animal that they've eaten from. And then come other animals, and so on. It's not so with man. A man enjoys acquiring something that it is his and he doesn't want to share it with others. Our ego is the most developed ego, and therefore we measure our success compared with some other success. If in the forest next to me there is a wolf and he's more successful than I am in my forest, even though that I have everything, I can't sleep quietly. I arrange other friends and wolves, and we find him and we kill him. Why? Animals don't have such a thing at all. They don't have this kind of thought, this urge, motivation. We do. Meaning a man is the worst kind of animal, and this is how we live to this day. 6,000 years ago, almost 6,000, 5,777 years ago, one of the researchers of nature called Adam discovered that man is a special creature by having the possibility, because he's more special than the still vegetative and animate nature, and he has a bad attitude towards others, because animals don't have a bad attitude towards others, that one wants to eat the other. It doesn't want to harm the other animal, but just to eat. A person, even if he doesn't want to eat the other, he wants to harm him. meaning humanity has a completely different motivation for their existence, to exist in order to dominate. Animals don't. And therefore, among animals, everything is determined according to the laws of nature, and man is above the laws of nature and is also constantly developing. Someone who has 100 wants 200, and so on. Meaning his ego, his will to receive, is constantly growing, and therefore, as it says, a man dies without achieving half of what he wants. We know this about ourselves, and also we saw it on all previous generations. The question is different. That Adam, that person who 6,000 years ago discovered, what did he discover? He discovered that the human development is necessitated by nature, that nature necessitates us to behave that way, but we can rise above our nature, meaning above our corporeal nature slash animalistic nature, which is actually not the animalistic level, but the human level, but egoistic. We can rise above our egoistic nature and gradually reach a state where I'm satisfied with living like an animal, taking care of myself and everything else that I have. Beyond wanting to conquer and acquire and everything, the main thing is that others don't have. I limit that inside of me. I don't touch others. I'm okay. I have everything I need. That's it. I don't care. I don't need newspapers and the media and everything, so that everything will stimulate me. Get this and get that, and you like this and you like that. Thank God, I'm not lacking anything. I don't want to be truly satisfied by the least, but I want to live according to the times I live in. I want, suppose, work, car, home, family, wife, kids, everyone are well off, to have vacation, and so on. I don't want to feel that I'm living at the expense of someone else, that the more I bend others, the happier I am. This is what we discovered, that there is such an option to rise above the ego. Because when we say ego, that's what we're talking about. It's not that a person wants to enjoy life, but to enjoy life at the expense of others. Meaning where I want to harm others, and there I feel pleasure. And he discovered that it's possible. And what do we get as a result then? Because it's hard work working against your desires and urges, and maybe competition is good, that I want to arrange myself better than others. It's actually a very good and important incentive for development. Who said that it's not good? So he discovered that it's not good, that it's actually not good. Why? Because by that we bury ourselves in this narrow world. And if we will leave this excessive development, which is only in order to fulfill this additional evil inclination, then instead of trying to rise above it, I actually achieve my next degree of development above the human level of this world. By that, I start feeling the upper nature, a nature which is higher than this ego. As much as my ego is burning inside me to hate others, and as much as I'm going to overcome hate for others, rise above it, correspondingly I discover the good force that exists in nature that was hidden from me, that actually my hatred towards others hid that force from me, and then I can discover it and live in it, live in that good force. How is it good? Like I said, that because we hate others, we bury ourselves in this world because I'm constantly thinking about how will I not let him grow? How will I not let him succeed? How do I make more than he does? How do I really prick his eyes that I have something that he doesn't, and so on? So instead of that, I start acquiring a different nature of connection with others. And by connection with others, I acquire what the others have, specifically. Not the materialistic things that the other has, but his approach, his perspective, his development. I as if see the world through him, besides what I see. And then I add to myself such qualities, developmental qualities that I can never have. By this kind of attitude towards others, I acquire, how to put this, by this kind of attitude towards others, I acquire the force of good. I discover the force of good that exists in nature that previously I didn't see, and I didn't think that it exists, and I didn't think that I'm missing it. It's similar to the state humanity is in right now. It doesn't understand that it's very limited. It only sees that according to its natural development, according to its evolution, it reached a kind of a dead end. And by reaching the limit of its development, then precisely that developmental limit, what is it? It's that we can no longer exploit each other because comes machinery and it does everything, and I don't need people. If I don't need people, then how will I exploit them? That already takes away my possibility of using my ego. How will I use my ego in order to bend others, for them to work for me, and I benefit and I enjoy that the other works under me? But no, they're machines. Previously, I needed someone to clean and do my laundry and this and that. No, today, one machine, you get everything. Yesterday, I visited someone, a very respectable person. He has a few robots cleaning his floor, and he has a very big apartment. And he's walking around, and he went from the robot is moving from one room to another. Everything's programmed inside. It knows where did it clean, where didn't it clean yet. Something very special. What do I need people for? But how will I realize my desire to control? Because I can no longer control, I can no longer dominate, I can't give anything anymore to people or get anything from them, and so on and so forth. A friend of mine came back from Spain. He tells me the streets are empty, the shops are empty, streets empty, coffee shops empty. 40% of the population is unemployed, and no one needs the others, and everyone lives the way they live. Meaning we see that we've reached a state where by good or by bad, but our ego that wanted to control others is becoming dysfunctional. Because I have no reason, I have no place, nowhere to control others. I have nothing to be proudful about towards others, because this is already becoming something that, it's not that society is encouraging it or anything. We've reached a state where the entire human development since Adam discovered this, and to this day it's reaching its end because money is disappearing. And what's its equivalent? We no longer know what to do in such a society where we don't have to work. We can provide all of us with our needs, and then what? How will we relate to a person that he'll be less than I am, more than I am, exploit him somehow? We don't see. There's still elites, and of course, all these different levels exist, but it's all somehow losing its value. And therefore, that force of our development, the egoism, the hatred towards others, the desire to exploit others, it still exists, but it's already taking on new forms.